import tuning games were all the rage a couple years ago, and while it wasn't exactly first, the Need for Speed series certainly put the subgenre on the map. Say what you want about the realism of Gran Turismo or Forza, but there's something about strapping a nitrous kit on a Honda Civic that strikes a chord in a lot of players. The jump to next gen was fairly smooth with last year's solid Need for Speed Most Wanted. The big question is whether the follow-up rests on its laurels or keeps pushing the corner.
Didn't expect you to show your face again.
Carbon picks up where Most Wanted left off. By all appearances, you've betrayed your friends and made off with a nice stash of loot. It's up to you to clear your name and find out what really went down. The overeager Smokey from the first game has gone bounty hunter, and a friend pays him off to keep your butt out of jail and your tires on the pavement. Your objective? Take over the entire city by laying down some rubber against the area's biggest street racers. If you've never completed Need for Speed Most Wanted, Carbon can come off as a little confusing thanks to almost too many flashback sequences. The story is told through the same overexposed live-action footage from Most Wanted. It also utilizes the same over-the-top acting and script.
There's a lot of posers, no respect.
Is any of it believable? Definitely not. Is it still the most interesting story in a racing video game? You bet.
Now I want to hear you're gone.
While the story is about as good as it gets for a racing game, apparently too much time and resources were spent on it because the game's design is actually a step backward. Customization has returned, but even the now ancient Underground 2 has more engine tuning and neon options. Auto sculpting is a new feature that allows you to manually create new body kits, but it's so difficult to get exactly what you want that it's really not worth the effort. There are 3 different car classes available, including exotics, tuners, and a new addition, muscle cars. As far as race types are concerned, pretty much the entire lot of them have appeared in previous Need for Speed games. You get the stereotypical checkpoint races, circuits, speed traps, point-to-point affairs, and the like. The drift option is also returned, allowing you to take on the latest sensation in motorsports with its own set of physics and vehicle attributes. If you own the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 versions, you can go online to extend your playtime against up to 7 other competitors. Pursuit Tag and Pursuit Knockout are the only 2 options on offer. Tag has 1 player taking on the role of Renegade, while all the other players are the Fuzz. The first cop to end the pursuit then becomes the runaway. Knockout is a lap-based option where finishing last in each lap will turn you into a cop. This process repeats until there's just 1 racer left. While there are just 2 online choices, both are a great deal of fun and allow you to milk some more playtime from this $59 game. This is a big deal because just like last year's outing, the single-player mode in Carbon can be whipped in about 10 hours. It's disappointing considering how many hours you could milk from the NFS games from last generation. Just like prior games in the series, you start out with a crap car and have to boost it, trick it, and then sell it for an upgrade. It's the same formula that's pervaded the series for years now, and your mileage will vary depending on how much you enjoy shaving a second off your lap time due to a new NOS kit. The city is divided into 4 primary territories, with each one containing numerous zones that you'll need to take over from rival car gangs. Once you've won enough races in each zone, you'll face off against the gang leader in a duel. The first part takes place on the streets, while the second leg is a chase down a craggy mountain pass overlooking a canyon. The canyon portion is interesting because it's broken up into 2 legs. In the first, you have to stay as closely as possible to the boss, and in the second, you attempt to leave him in the dust. When both legs are complete, the time spent leading across both races ultimately determines the winner.
You'd never survive it.
Visually, Carbon is more along the lines of the Underground games than Most Wanted. All of the races take place at night, which gives the game a chance to show off some nice reflections, but it also becomes monotonous after a while, making you wish you could see just a little farther ahead. The good news is that it certainly aids in the sense of speed, as it's hard to train your eye on objects off in the distance. Taking over territory from rival groups is a nice twist, but overall, the design is basically the same as last year's game. Focus squarely on acquiring territory, Carbon gives you a wingman that's supposed to help you out in dire situations. There are 3 types, including blockers, drafters, and scouts. Blockers are supposed to keep the competition from coming up your tailpipe, but more often than not, they'll end up blocking you. Drafters will get in front of you and allow you to ride in their slipstream in hopes of giving you a nice slingshot, and this works fairly well. Scouts will look for shortcuts to cut down the travel time. Aside from these on-course duties, crew members are also rated in fixing and fabricating, which can make a huge difference in attaining upgrades or just piecing your banged-up ride back together. The racing itself is highly dependent upon how you take the corners. Charging in with your engine revving and trying to squeal around a turn isn't going to get it done. You'll have to use the brakes, go into the curve slow, and power out of it. We're not talking Gran Turismo here, where you'll be lucky to keep your car on the road, but there's a lot more to driving than just keeping the accelerator pegged the entire time and blasting off nitrous.
Hey, I think those cops are jealous of your car.
Police were a big part of Need for Speed Most Wanted, thus the name. But here, they've been made irrelevant by the warping system included in the game. From the map screen, you can choose whatever zone you want to visit, so you're not actually traveling across the city where the cops have a chance to bust you. Carbon's big marketing push was towards the canyon races, and they're definitely the highlight of the game. These high-risk drafting challenges ask you to pick your spots and try to make a charge, but this also brings a lot of risk along with it. One wrong move, and you're busting through the guardrail and falling to the canyon below. Get too far behind for too long, and you'll lose as well. These races provide the most white-knuckled thrills the game offers, but sadly, they don't happen nearly enough.
Okay, he's on your back, man. What's the plan?
Need for Speed Carbon still includes all the fundamentals that have made the series a hit over the years. But at this point, the well is beginning to run dry. The fleshed out story is a nice touch, and the head-to-head canyon races are a hoot. But with so little content, it's hard to recommend as a purchase unless you're spending your nights on deserted pieces of road looking for some action.